Hi, everybody. I'm Steve Pond from TheWrap. We're here not in Park City, but in the virtual Sundance Film Festival studio. And I'm delighted to welcome from the film Passing, director Rebecca Hall and actors Ruth Negga, Tessa Thompson, and Andre Holland. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. And Rebecca, thank you for a beautiful film. Can you talk a little bit about, how you came to this story, which I guess has a personal connection for you as well?
Yes, I came to it around 13 years ago, around a time in my life when I was beginning to ask more questions about certain aspects of my family history on my mother's side. My mother's from Detroit, Michigan, and her father was African American, white passing, and probably his parents were also white passing. Although I say that we didn't have language like that, really. My family didn't have language. We didn't talk about it as a thing. Passing, it wasn't a thing. It was more, maybe he was this, maybe he was that. A lot of it was shrouded in mystery, confusion, as many of these stories are. And when I read this book, I think I had, for the first time in my life, a historical context and an emotional connection to, these things. I didn't know my grandfather. I know my mother, and it's a complicated legacy. And this book gave me an access point, I suppose, that was very moving to me. And I knew that it could make an extraordinary film because not only was it this personal connection for me, but I was just bowled over by its sheer force as a work of literature. It was written in 1929, and it's incredibly simple. It's a short book. It's 93 odd pages long, and not a great deal happens, and yet it holds a sort of like onion of thematic possibility. There is the principal narrative device of passing, but then, the onion unlayers, and actually it's all the ways in which human beings perform aspects of their identity or obfuscate or confuse or don't have an honest relationship with who they are, and therefore don't project. So it becomes, is it about gender? Is it about race? Is it about class? Is it about sexuality? It really, she uses passing as a metaphor for all of these things. And that, I think, makes it strikingly contemporary and just brilliant. So for that simple reason alone, did I want to make it into a film.
You hadn't directed yourself at this point, right?
No. I hadn't directed. I wrote a short film, and I went through pre-production on it, but I couldn't get it made in the end because for tragic reasons. Actually, it was based on a friend of mine's experience who was battling cancer, and she didn't make it. So that's another story. But I went through a pretty close approximation of the pre-production stuff, which was something that I had no experience of, and I think that actually set me in pretty good stead. At the onset stuff, I feel I've been spying on directors my whole life, waiting to get a chance to do this. It's something that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah. I mean, this film obviously is built around some extraordinary performances, and we have three of the performers here. So let's, Ruth, for you, I mean, can you tell us a little bit about your character, what attracted you, and what the challenges were of playing Claire?
Well, I met Rebecca, a few years ago now in New York, and she said she was adapting this novel, which I absolutely love, and I think it was beautiful. And she asked me to come on board, and I was thrilled that she asked me and thought of me. Claire, for me, is, well, she's a massive contradictions, really. I found her beguiling and mysterious, and just her sense of longing really resonated with me. And it just broke my heart that she felt she had to make this decision to sever herself from her community in order to survive and maybe thrive. And that sense of loss, because to pass is passing is a loss, um, and what I loved about her was that in spite of that and despite of that, that she hasn't lost her sense of self, really, and I loved her vibrancy and her joy. I think she escapes the traditional narrative of the tragic mulatto, whatever that is, and sort of bucks that, and and that society may have wanted to strip her of her sense of self, but it hasn't really succeeded. And I just think it's I think we all have a longing, to belong and to be wanted, and I think that's why I think it resonated with me, and I think it will resonate with everybody. But also this idea that your presence in life, your very existence, can be dictated by others and by society, and how much energy that takes to resist that. And I think actually all the characters in Passing are doing that. Um, and I think Rebecca's script is extraordinary. I mean, it is quite spare, but what Rebecca does is she leaves room for things to happen um, between these characters, and that's in space, and I think that's how this film thrives, as much the unsaid.
Yeah. Tessa, for you, I mean, what appealed to you about playing Irene? And tell us a little bit about who she is.
I didn't have a relationship with the book prior to hearing about this project, and I read the book, and again, it's it's a slim 90-something pages, and yet what it unpacks and talks about is sort of extraordinary. So I was bowled over by the mastery that is Nella Larson in this, and then I read right after Rebecca's adaptation, which I thought was so economical and moving, and then to understand that she was sort of contending with things in her own family history. I'd love to work with filmmakers that have something to say, something personal to say in what they're doing. And so I love that about it. And then I knew that Ruth was already attached, and so the opportunity to get to play with her. Irene sort of takes us into the world of the book. You're kind of in her head and her experiences, and you, I think, learn over the course of the book that maybe she's not the most reliable narrator. And so I found trying to understand her really fascinating, and I guess my experience of the book was so intertwined with living inside of her skin already, just I think because the way that the book is in a way. And it scared me, truly. The idea of playing her really terrified me. So I thought it's probably a good thing to do then, if I have a chance.
Yeah. Andre, how about you? I mean, you play a man who wants to tell his kids about lynchings and who wants his children to grow up knowing about the problems of race in America. And it strikes me that, that could be as much about 2021 as it is about 1929.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the things that really grabbed me about the project, is that this man really wants to, keep his kids safe and see them grow up, period. And you're right, in a lot of ways, when we encountered that part of the story, it could have been written tomorrow, sadly. But I think for me, the thing that attracted me to it, in addition to getting to play this character and to speak these words, is so much of filmmaking is about being in community with people who you admire. For me, these three fantastic women on this call right now, three people who I really greatly admire and who I learned a lot from. So it was really meaningful to me for those reasons.
Yeah. Well, I would love to continue talking about this for a lot longer, but I think we have to wrap up. So, thank you all for being part of it. And as I said, thank you for a beautiful movie.
Thank you.
Thank you.